Alright, so in the previous episodes we saw some crazy stuff. From Nagi basically doing the impossible, to Raichi putting up one of the greatest defensive performances in sports anime history, to Quan with a dramatic redemption arc, and so on. The point I'm trying to make here is that it was super chaotic. And it's easy to forget what kickstarted this madness, which was Bachira's goal. When all hope was lost and Team Z was on the brink of collapsing, it was him who single-handedly dragged them back into the game. Unlike Nagi, what Bachira did wasn't unrealistic. We have seen some crazy solo goals in real life. It's just that only a handful of players in history are able to pull off something similar. The two obvious examples are Messi's goal against Getafe and Maradona's goal of the century in the 1986 World Cup.
Different class.
In both cases, they pretty much dribbled past the entire opposing team and scored all by themselves. These are the types of players that show up once in a generation. Though it seems in recent years, as football has become more modernized and tactic-driven, or in simple terms, robotic, the light that once sparked the creation of these magicians is slowly fading away. Neymar is probably the last of this dying breed of footballers who mixed entertainment with efficiency, and he's 32 years old, nearing the end of his career. If I had to pick a player from this new generation of players who could be considered the next in line, it will probably be Jamal Musiala.
It's Musiala again! Lovely footwork, brilliant from Musiala! And here's Musiala.
Musiala, lovely driving run.
Musiala!
He could be surrounded by 5 or 6 players and more often than not pulls a trick to create a moment of magic. But Bachira's flair is something else, totally on a different level. In fact, there is only one player I've seen who has the same kind of energy. It didn't matter if he was playing in a Champions League final or a friendly game, if he was playing against the best defender in the world or an out-of-shape celebrity in a charity game. He would do whatever he felt like doing, and in process pull some of the craziest tricks in his arsenal. Of course, I'm talking about the great Brazilian icon, Ronaldinho.
For 2 or 3 years, the best player on the planet. Played with a smile on his face. He'd done things on a football pitch that no one even contemplated trying.
Dances, tiptoes.
Ronaldinho. Caño de Ronaldinho.
Outside. Hidorika. Miki.
Pelota Ronaldinho. ¡Oh, madre mía! Sigue el Barça, Ronaldinho. ¡Oh, madre mía!
This guy transcends football for me. He blew my mind playing against him because he had everything.
Anyways, that was my take on Bachira and why I think in real life Ronaldinho is probably the closest comparison. Let's see if we can hit 80 likes, and now let's jump in.
Damn it. I lost.
You know, the thing about Blue Lock is that if I had watched this series maybe 2 years ago, I would have been way more critical of some of the things that happen in this show. But after watching a 16-year-old child carry my club week in, week out for the past few months, I don't even know what's quote-unquote realistic anymore.
Yo, there's time. Hurry.
Oh, by the way, when I was looking for Ronaldinho clips, I came across this shoulder pass, which is very similar to what Nagi did. Except in this case, he passed it to himself.
Nagi, your eyes. If we score just 2 more goals, we can...
If this was an Al Hilal game, the ref would have given you as much extra time as you needed to score, but it's not, so just take the L.
And that's time. Final score, 5-4. Team Z wins.
I think I already said this last time, but conceding 5 against 10 men, that's enough reason to cut the rest of the team outside of the front 3.
Hey, Kuan, why are you over here? Come out and join us.
Oh my god, please stop with these cringy let's pretend it never happened cliche.
Don't forgive him that easily, hero. He betrayed us and I'm not letting him off the hook.
Finally, someone with common sense. I can now confidently say Raichi is one of my favorite characters in this series.
In first place, Team V, 11 players progressed. And in second, Team C, 11 players progressed.
Let's take this moment to remember what they took from us.
Per the rules, the top scorers from the disqualified teams will move on as well.
I can't wait to see Nico and Baro cook again.
You basically won us the game.
What are you talking about? I wasn't the one who made an awesome play.
Can these players be egotistical for once? Bachira literally scored one of the best goals we have seen so far.
So you made it through. Congratulations. It's been a while.
I think Nico has the potential to develop into a Kaka type of player.
I survived the same as you, as Team Y's top scorer.
Well, technically no, it wasn't the same. Isagi made it because his team qualified for the next round.
You name the time, I'll beat you again.
I have never been more invested into a rivalry since Messi and Ronaldo days.
Starting today, players in Building 5 will undergo rigorous strength training. And until it's over, you aren't allowed to touch a soccer ball.
Blue Lock will have you think the guy on the right is better than the one on the left.
Don't get cocky just because you advanced amongst the lowest ranked players here. Train until I say stop, you garbage.
I remember a few years ago, Conte had Spurs players throwing up and passing out in training sessions because of what he put them through. And at the end, it was all for nothing, still went trophyless. Anyways, let's fast forward. They train for a few days, and after that, they get called up for the next selection.
If you're clever, you've already noticed. Look around. Funny how there's no one from Building 1, 2, 3, or 4. Know why? Because only Building 5 exists here in Blue Lock.
This sucks. I was actually looking forward to seeing Building 1 players.
For example, let's take Noel Noah. He's currently considered the best striker in the world, but he grew up in a slum in France.
Wait, I just had the best idea for how they can bring back Kira. Pretend he's half German, and after Blue Lock he moves to Germany where he still has a chance to play for their national team. Eventually, once you get to the World Cup final arc, have him be the final boss, the captain of Germany. Tell me that's not a sick idea.
This time will be different compared to the first round. You've learned what a striker is, turning 0 into 1.
Wait, I'm a little confused. So we have Team V, Team Z, and the 3 top goal scorers. So then who are the rest of these players?
The second selection consists of 5 stages. To move on to the next, a player must clear the previous challenge.
What is this, a Mr. Beast challenge?
And those who pass the second selection will participate in a training camp with the world's top players that I've personally handpicked.
I really want to know who Ego actually is and why does he have so many connections. Okay, who is this guy?
What a clean kick.
The cleanest shot I have seen is this one from Thiago against Porto.
Now a low arcing one with curve and spin?
I remember Pogba used to score some crazy goals shooting like this back in his prime days. Speaking of Pogba, he got caught doping and was banned from playing for 4 years. So I guess that's the end of his career.
Warm-up's done. You can go ahead and open the door now.
Again, I'm confused. If there are no other buildings, then that means we should have already seen this guy, no? Where are these new faces coming from?
Itoshi. Wait.
Of the new generation world's best 11?
Wait, is that supposed to be Real Madrid?
And are the rest of them gonna be unreal monsters like him?
We can be monsters too, can't we?
Igarashi had a good run, but he's not that guy. Okay, right, we are halfway through the story, so I think it's a good time to do a final ranking of Team Z plus some other characters from different teams. At the very bottom, I have Naruhaya and Imamura. They are not necessarily bad players, it's just that I can't remember them doing much. But moving on to C tier, that's where things get more interesting. So I put Imon at the bottom of tier C. He had 2 great saves during the first selection, which kept Team Z alive. But we are ranking strikers, not goalkeepers. Hopefully we actually see him play outfield in future episodes. Igarashi did have some good blocks, and I also remember it was his press that regained possession against Nico's team, so he's in C tier ahead of Imon. Next up is the Vanima brothers. They are cheaters, so I can't really put them in a higher tier. Every goal they scored was thanks to Kwon assisting them, and even then, with a 2-man advantage, they couldn't beat Team Z. Speaking of Kwon, I've put him in C tier just ahead of Vanima brothers. At least he has a good trade, which is jumping and hitting the ball, whereas the twins need each other to even do the most basic stuff. And at the very top of C tier, I've put Okawa. He was very underrated in the 1 episode we saw him play. Did a quick counter and finished the chance with a world-class finish. He's one of those strikers that under the right system can thrive. Kinda reminds me of Ferran Torres when he's on a good form. Not the fastest, strongest, doesn't have amazing technical skills, but it's great at getting himself in the right position and finishing chances. Moving on to B tier, at the very bottom it's Raichi. The last game saved his reputation because before that he had done nothing, but that defensive performance was so clutch that I just had to put him in B tier. He received the 2nd most votes for man of the match after Nagi over Bashira and Isagi, which speaks volume about how highly most people thought of his performance. The overall vibes I got from him were Gattuso. Tough, aggressive, playing mind games, you can see the similarities. Next up, it's Gagamaru, one of my favorites and definitely underappreciated in the anime. He's just a better, or I should say more complete version of Kwon. Few episodes ago, I said his eye roll comparison was Zlatan, and I think that holds levels up. The acrobatics, the agility in the air, the height, all of that kind of match up. His biggest weakness is that he's not arrogant enough. He's too nice, which is why he gets ignored sometimes. Moving on, this might be a surprise to some of you, I have Nico ranked in B tier. The main reason being is that his ability in front of the goal is still questionable. During the match against Team V, he was hesitant to pull the trigger himself, and that's what ultimately cost his team the game. I do realize that since then we have been told that he's changed, but I'm only gonna judge these players based on what we have been shown. Either way, I still don't see him as a striker. He's more of an attacking midfielder to me. Rayo sits in B tier as well. His playmaking is great, but looks very limited without Nagi. He's also definitely not a striker either, more of a number 10 or 8. Kunigami sits at the very top of tier B. Some of you might think he deserves to be an A, and I respect that opinion, but I just haven't seen anything that puts him in that special category. Sure, he's great at holding onto and carrying the ball, but that's not enough. So far, he has shown to be a great player, just not a genius. The first A tier player is Zantetsu. It was tough deciding between him and Chigiri, but ultimately I decided to go with him in last because he lost the battle to Chigiri in the last game. And as I said, Chigiri is ahead of him. He reminds me of Dembele if Dembele was good at finishing chances. I can also see the Bell comparisons, but the physique doesn't really match. Still a great player regardless. I feel like if Batria wanted to, he could easily be on the same level as the people who are ahead of him. But for some reason, he wants to play second fiddle to Isagi, even though he's just as capable, if not more. Batria has done some insane stuff, but I've seen Isagi do more, especially on the defensive end of things. So for that reason, the Ronaldinho of Blue Lock is second in tier A, and the Thomas Muller or Inzaghi of Blue Lock sits at the top. There are only two S tier players from the first selection, Baro and Nagi. It's like deciding between Messi and Ronaldo. Baro is clearly more hard work and being obsessed with perfection, while Nagi is more relaxed and relies more on his talent. But at the end of the day, Nagi is just a better player. Looking at Team Z stats, and wow, Batria 5 assists and 1 goal. I'm telling you, if he had Baro's ego, we will be talking about an all-timer. Anyways, that was it for this video and the first half of Blue Lock. The next review will cover the second selection, so stay tuned in, and until next time.